This is my first flight in 2.5 years. I'm leaving Vancouver, going to Paris, see the Stones, Amsterdam, Hamburg, Stockholm to see the Stones again, flying from Oslo to New York, Yankees, Mets, try and get published, back to Vancouver in August, bringing a bicycle inside of this box, and then and also traveling light. Fuck you, Trudeau. France didn't want me to come here because I'm not vaccinated anymore. You need 3 of those fucking clot shots. This is where the revolution started in 1789, thanks in part to Marquis de Sade, who, very bad boy, was telling the villagers and the poor people to rise up against the king. So they walked far that way, and that's where they started the revolution. I'll get this off my chest because I don't want this trip to turn into the wrong kind of wine. 2 years ago, or last year, I got the 2 Moderna shots and my arm was frozen for a month and I couldn't walk on my left thigh for a week. I wound up at the emergency ward and my left side of my face wasn't speaking through properly. I took the 2 shots, and then yesterday, coming back or leaving YVR to here, France doesn't consider 2 shots to be vaccinated anymore. I had to do a PCR test. I wasn't sure whether I would pass the PCR test. Thankfully, I passed. What will happen is, I think that 3 will turn into 4, into 5 shots, and the volume of problems, vaccine side effects, will continue, and they'll also continue not to be reported on. Here, at least, there's a greater sense of freedom. People have gone to the streets a lot more, because they always do in France. And at the airport in Vancouver, there's only 10% of the people weren't wearing masks, whereas when I got to Charles de Gaulle Airport, CDG, it was the opposite. There was only 5% of the people who had masks on, and they were all the people coming into the country from America and Canada. Anyways, that's that. I don't want any more cheese with the wine. I just want some wine and cheese. This is the Place des Vosges. 100 years ago and more, Victor Hugo lived there, and in 2000 and something, I worked there, and I lived down the street down there. That's Rue Beautreillet, and this is the Place des Vosges. One of the kings, I forgot which one, built this just as a hangout. It was 2004 that I lived at that little spot, 13 Rue Beautreillet, with Sarah for 7 months, and that's as far as we got. And this is 17 Rue Beautreillet, where in 1971 Jim Morrison passed away. Still in the Marais, which is the swamp. I worked at this place, Elephant and Neil, in the summer. Someone called me a chef. These 2 houses date back to 1600. And this is all Haussmann style. Haussmann was the architect during Napoleon's time. He basically Napoleon did Haussmann, I forget his first name, maybe it's Eric, Paris to work on. And that's why a lot of the places, buildings in this city, they look the same, but they all look beautiful. They're all Haussmannian. There's a dying breed, one of the last booksellers. These seem to be all on, or they are all closed. So that must have been, I don't know who this Louis Philippe guy is. I do know who Napoleon III is because I keep one of his coins in my wallet, and that's Napoleon's nephew. This is Rue Saint Antoine, and this is the street that had the history of the macabre Parisian history of very dark. The Barber of Sweeney Street was based on, and in the 1200s, I think. Well, in one of these places, there was somebody was making meat with human people that were actually students in the Latin Quarter, and the king liked the food. And then, as the story goes, which is true, a dog was looking for his master and kept on barking. And it barked so much. I don't know why he didn't kill the dog, but the dog brought attention to that place, and it was inspected, and they found out that the meat maker was making meat out of people and being sold by the baker. There's a barber involved too, and yeah, that's where the Sweeney Todd story comes from, but it's actually true, and it takes place in Paris. Paris. Archaeologically speaking, this is the first digs of Paris. This is where the Parigi, as they were called by the Romans, lived. And this is the earliest traces of humanity, I suppose, in Paris. And that showed up, and that took 700 to maybe 1,200 years to build, I forget. It's a Shakespeare & Company where I lived for 3 months. That was my bedroom window, thanks to Mr. George Whitman, the owner. That's a floating restaurant that in 2004 I worked at as a dishwasher, and through the porthole I could see from my dish pit. This is Rue Saint Jacques, and it's the oldest street in Paris. It goes back to the Roman times, and it was a cobblestone street built to Rome. And behind me here is the hotel. It was the first hotel I ever stayed at in Paris in December of 1993. Sonia and I traveled we got a ride from Spain to Paris, and we were incredibly poor and thankful that the driver, David, a lawyer from Los Angeles, paid for our hotel here. Anyways, at the hotel they said that Jim Morrison had stayed here, and it's one of these places, like 212 Rue Saint Jacques. And I looked it up later on, and apparently it's true that there's a little Morrison connection here, and I think that's awesome. This is some summery food from France and Spain, and I think the pigeons want some too. I got apricot, peach, brie, 2 types of meat, some rosé, because c'est bon dans l'été de voir un petit rosé. I found some mussel shells in the river. This must be a Dutch EV. Small. Another Dutch special. This is a four-wheeled bicycle with the shocks, the leaf springs going wheel to wheel. Stones fans in Amsterdam. I had an Amstel at this place. Very wonderful. Built in 1890. "23,000 steps today, but on a year to show you whoever watches this, what traveling is. That's May and that's July. That's going out of Arizona, California, and that's going over to Europe. So traveling is good for my health. Whereas being stuck in Vancouver after my shitty Moderna shots, I didn't do anything August. Started to recuperate, and then I eventually got around to other things. But definitely, it's good to get out. Should I check out the red light district? Cannabis inside of the vodka, cannabis inside of gin, Dutch candies. Nothing like a dirty old train station. This is the dirty of St. Pauli, kind of like Granville Street back in the 90s. Beatles right now, and there's 5 of them, 5 statues. I think that's Stu Sutcliffe to the side, and there's George, Paul, John, and Ringo. And yeah, they came here in 1962. Mein Hamburger in Hamburg. Malmo, Sweden, and you can have a shower at the train station. Steuerlager. This is a typical hostel here. No window, but good air conditioning. $30 a night in Sweden. This is still Stockholm. I don't know anything about what I'm looking at. I tried this one, put it up here. That's the way they do it over here in Sweden. Put it up on the top lip. And this stuff is 1822. 1822. It's pretty good. Good high. My next one, they had other stuff there. They had licorice flavored and eucalyptus flavored, which is really nice. But I didn't try that. I got this stuff. And like I say, it's pretty good high. And then this stuff I'm going to try after. They come in pouches. Snooze. Right up here. All the doors are heavy in this city. Yeah, that's the spirit. I've been using my credit card this whole time, and I just found this in the ground, so now I know what the money looks like. This is what the 150 went to. Friends of Leon, reuse the pre-loved. Thank you very much, Stockholm. It's been a wonderful pleasure. Oslo, Norway. These are saunas. This is their harbor in their fjord. I think that's a national ferry, and these are the A-frame buildings here. Those are, one of them's another sauna. And I think there's a lot of hiking in this country. Yeah, so I did the sauna, and well worth it. Took a dip in that water too.